Hi and welcome to this ninth video in this series on executive coaching. I'm Harry Petropoulos, one of the founding directors of Remedial Performance Consultants. We're an Australian executive coaching firm established in 2004 with offices in Sydney and in Perth. In this video, I'm going to be talking about a particular type of executive coaching referred to as remedial coaching. So what do we mean by remedial coaching? As we discussed in earlier videos, executive coaching programs, standard executive programs I should say, are generally designed to assist already successful executives further develop themselves through personal discovery, self-understanding and self-mastery. Remedial coaching programs, on the other hand, are designed to address a specific problem, a behaviour or significant deficiencies in an executive's managerial skill set or managerial repertoire. Executives earmarked for remedial coaching are typically key employees and often described as rainmakers within their organisation who bring highly valued skills, knowledge and networks to the organisation, but who sometimes exercise poor judgment, are insensitive to key relationship issues, or maybe demonstrate inappropriate communication styles. In the past several years, we've been called in to work with people, both male and female, but mainly male, who have violated an organisation's harassment policy, for instance. With one or two notable exceptions, the practice in corporate Australia these days has been to discipline, educate, or coach these people rather than sacking them. This is particularly true when the alleged harasser is in a leadership role or brings highly valued skills or knowledge to the organisation in question. Now, in my experience, the reluctance to sack an offender often reflects the fact that the organisation may have been complicit in allowing the behaviours and relationship issues to develop in the first place. Not always, but that's becoming an increasing trend these days. Remedial coaching, as opposed to other interventions such as termination or reassignment, only makes sense, however, when there's recognition by critical mass of bosses and peers within that organisation that the employee in question has demonstrated substantial value to the organisation in key performance areas. Now, in these situations, the prevailing sentiment is that although the executive may have derailed in one or sometimes several aspects of performance, there's a high degree of confidence that the investment in his or her development through remedial coaching programs will bring about the changes necessary to lift performance back to the required levels. Now, in these types of situations, the earlier the process is commenced, usually the greater the probability of a successful outcome. But having said that, remedial coaching assignments do tend to have a much lower probability of success than the standard executive coaching assignments. Success rates typically fall between 70 to 80% of all assignments taken on. Now, success will usually be a function of the time frame for behaviour change, the nature of the changes required, and importantly, the disposition of the person who's about to be coached. As mentioned earlier, the prevailing sentiment of the wider organisation towards the person being coached can have a major bearing on the outcomes achieved. To be effective in remedial coaching, the executive coach must be skilled in evaluating the opportunities for development. Now, as a coach, you need to be candid with the sponsor of the remedial coaching program, particularly if you believe other interventions would be more appropriate. And this is usually the case if there's evidence of deeper personality disorder or where you believe the organisation may have in fact lost confidence in the executive's ability going forward. Similarly, as a coach, you should avoid taking on assignments where the time frame for expected behavioural change is unrealistic. Now, having said that, however, no company should have to tolerate unacceptable behaviour. So as the coach, you'll need to help raise the coachee's awareness quickly and guide them more than you would perhaps in normal executive coaching programs towards controlling any aberrant behaviour early on in the coaching program, even though this control may not yet be truly heartfelt. Attitudinal realignment usually takes several months, nominally 6 to 9 months from program commencement, before new behaviour patterns become truly internalised. It's also common for people undergoing significant personal change to suffer relapses from time to time. So as a coach, you need to be able to manage relapses effectively. There should also, of course, be the necessary mechanisms in place in the organisation to provide appropriate support to the individual being coached. So, as a coach, what are the steps in a typical remedial coaching assignment? Well, like any coaching assignment, the first step involves discussing the brief with the sponsor and clarifying stakeholder expectations in relation to the specific changes sought and more importantly, the timeframes within which these changes are required. This is followed up with a desktop review of all available performance information, including performance appraisals, any 360-degree feedback, file notes, and etc., and a face-to-face meeting with the executive to be coached, primarily to assess their willingness to actually participate in the program and to assess if there's any evidence of personality disorder. But here's where it differs from normal executive coaching. The next step is quite significant. The next step involves, in fact, conducting independent interviews of selected peers, subordinates, customers, both internal and, if relevant, external customers, and other stakeholders in order to identify contributing factors to the performance decrement from several perspectives, and also in the process, of course, unearthing any political considerations that need to be sensitive to, and clarifying expectations for improvement from stakeholders interviewed. It's at this stage that an assessment is made in relation to the ambient level of organisational support for the coachee in question. The real question here is whether the wider organisation has given up on the coachee receiving remedial coaching, or whether there's enough internal support for the journey ahead. A follow-up face-to-face meeting with the executive to be coached may be scheduled at this stage to clarify or challenge any of the insights gleaned during the peer group or stakeholder interviews. Now, at this point, as a coach, you either need to accept the assignment and agree terms, in other words, program duration, goal clarity, any company support required during the program, and of course fees for the service, or you suggest alternate interventions for this particular person. Now, while I think it's good practice under all coaching scenarios, it's particularly important in remedial coaching assignments to have agreement between the client organisation and your own coaching company that the coaching program can be terminated at any stage by either party if it's considered that the desired outcomes are not being achieved, or if the coachee's level of engagement drops off significantly. Low engagement in this case could mean resistance by the coachee to respond to questions, but it could also mean contrived compliance with the coaching program just to keep their job. Now, the types of outcomes you can expect from a remedial coaching program may include things like a greater willingness by the coachee to accept constructive criticism and to act on this in a more perhaps appropriate way. Other outcomes may include maintaining composure under pressure and stress, becoming less defensive or irritated when things aren't necessarily going the coachee's way, and being able to display acceptable levels of frustration when ideas are resisted or even blocked. Another outcome often sought is being able to manage conflict, including, in this case, the ability to read situations and people's emotional states accurately and quickly, becoming better at focused listening and being able to find common ground. And in the area of interpersonal relationships, remedial coaching programs often seek to help coachees build appropriate levels of rapport with different stakeholders. In particular, they try to better equip, the coachee to build constructive and more effective relationships, particularly with any disaffected stakeholders, and to better equip coachees to win concessions without necessarily damaging key relationships. But what you won't see through any coaching program, remedial or otherwise, is a change in the coachee's personality. Personality, as you know, is immutable. However, in time, the coachee may choose to accent some more socially acceptable preferred ways of dealing with people and challenges, while at the same time choosing to downplay other less effective approaches that the coachee has been characterised by in the past. You also shouldn't expect to see any change in the coachee's ideological beliefs. Through coaching programs, the coachee should develop a greater tolerance for other people's differing views in relation to high stakes issues, but they may not necessarily agree with these alternative views. By being more empathic, however, they stand a far greater chance of engaging with these stakeholders in more constructive dialogue, which normally leads to better outcomes anyway. As a coach, if you're interested in remedial coaching, you should be particularly adept at asking the tough questions, gaining relevant insights, evaluating difficult situations, and of course, giving direct feedback. You also need to be across the Australian Fair Work Amendment Act, or Amendment Bill, I should say, of 2014, and have a working knowledge of the sponsoring organisation's legal requirements. You should also be aware of the lower success rates typically associated with remedial coaching situations and factor that into your pitch. Okay, in the next video, I'm going to look at the leadership coaching and in particular the role played by emotional intelligence. Thanks for watching this particular video and I hope to see you for the next one.